Hello everyone, this is philosophy subject for CSS and PMS. I'm gonna start this lecture series because I know people face very difficulties in philosophy because this is not a very common subject taught in academies and all that. So I'm here to teach you and I'll try my level best to make things very easy for you. Let's start with the definition, nature, and scope of philosophy, which is our first part of the CSS. So let's start with the introduction. From the ancient time, common tendency of man to know the unknown things. It's a very thirst of a human to know what is unknown to it and explain the surroundings. Philosophy gave the rational way to think about this problem. It has close relation to all prevailing branches of knowledge. Broad subjects, many branches, based on logic, rationality. Philosophy is a very vast and detailed subject. We're going to discuss about the different branches of philosophy as well in this series, in this lecture. It is since human on the earth in the world of rationality and logic to quest for knowledge. And because of the quest for knowledge and thirst of knowledge, this philosophy branch came into existence. Okay, let's go to the definition of this philosophy. This is first coined by the Pythagoras. We all know this Pythagoras. This is a philosopher as well. The word philosophy means there are two words in philosophy, and both are Greek words. One is the philo, okay, that means love. Okay, philo means love, and Sophia means wisdom or knowledge. So philosophy means the wisdom or the love of wisdom or the love of knowledge. Traditionally, the word philosophy means the description of study like logic, sociology, and psychology, etc. Philosophy broadly means vision and outlook of a particular person to a particular thing, which we call as falsify as well, because this varies from person to person. That's why we have so many philosophers, because every philosopher has his own philosophy regarding to mind or human or world. Philosophy is the study of nature and meaning of the universe and of human life. This definition is taken by Oxford Advanced Learner's Dictionary, 6th edition. Okay, so we can say that philosophy is the study of nature and the meaning of universe, why this universe came into being, and of course, why there is life. Now, there are some other definitions as well. When we're gonna solve this question regarding definition and nature and scope of philosophy, if we got this question and we have to solve this question, we definitely need to follow the definitions of different scholars. We need to code these definitions. So Comte has given it a definition: this philosophy is the science of sciences. Okay? Fisher has given it is the science of knowledge. Then there is a definition given by Kant: it is the science and criticism of cognition. Cognition, what is cognition? It is the process of knowledge, to learn. Okay? Then Plato, he says, aims at the knowledge of the eternal, of the essential nature of things. And then Aristotle says, philosophy is the science which investigates the nature of being as it is in virtue of its own nature. So you need to memorize these definitions by heart because we cannot change the definitions. Okay? Now we're gonna go to study what can be the questions arises in this field, okay, which philosophers use to think about it. Some of the questions, that is, what is truth? Okay, what is truth and how is truth arrived? This is called reality. Okay, but philosophers had a very hard time finding the reality, finding what the reality is. Well, what is knowledge? This is the branch of knowledge which we call as epistemology. Then what is the essential nature of things? God, people, universe, which we call metaphysics now. It is a branch of philosophy. And what is a good life? Talking about good life is all about ethics. Then they understand the clarity of understanding, like defining terms. They help society and culture to be self critical, making people think. Like Socrates also said, I can only make you think, but I cannot make you what to think. Okay? That's what Socrates said. So, what philosophers seek is another thing that develop an ideology to guide people in society. That means he or they establish to generate ideologies. Now, how are we going to consider some of the sub branches of philosophies or subdivision of philosophies in the subject of philosophy? The first one is the epistemology, which is the philosophy is the love of wisdom. Then there we have come metaphysics. That is, the philosophy is the research or the search for reality. Okay, because this is the reality, or this is the questioning or the search for nature and existence. That is, we call metaphysics. Then ethics. Ethics is philosophy is a search for value or the best forms of life. Then cosmologically, philosophy is the rational study of nature. Then dialectic arguments, we're going to study Socrates' dialectic method and Hegel's dialectical method. This is the philosophy is a critical discussion of received ideas, which we call logic. Then we come here at philosophy as a concern with the problems of human existence. Here we're going to discuss Karl Marx and philosophy as a reflection on human experience. Chinese and Indian philosophers, ideological. So this was all about the definitions of philosophy. Now we're going to study and discuss the nature. Interlinked with diverse discipline science, psychology. Yes, it is. Philosophy is related to psychology as well. The branches like metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, logic, and the infrastructure of disciplines. The nature of philosophy is to know the truth rationally and logically. We we rationalize over things, okay, to search the truth, to wonder basic questions about universe and man. Greek thinkers, because Greek philosophers or thinkers were all about questioning the universe and human nature. They also question what is mind, what is knowledge, how we attain this knowledge. These were all the questions Greek thinkers came across. Ontology is the nature of existence. Subject is a man. So we need to find out the subjective knowledge and the objective knowledge. Objective knowledge is all about the universe. Question man's relation with the universe and change from birth till his death. Then dialectical argumentation, thoughts and rational arguments. Then school of thoughts negates with one another, definitely, because every person has its own thinking. So he used to negate the predecessor. There is the idealist group, materialist, empiricist, okay, utilitarian. I'm gonna tell you all these thoughts and all these forms later on. This is all about the nature of philosophy. Now we're going to discuss about what is the scope of philosophy. In other words, what philosophy talks about. It talks about the universal and general realities. It sees things broadly as a whole. Universal discipline. It talks about man and everything what interlinked with him. And what philosophy does not talk about? It does not talk about particular, specific, individual entities. Example of democracy. It does not talk about democracy in Pakistan, but talks about global democracy. It talks about the general as a whole, but not the particular or the specific things. It doesn't talk about the problems in different developing or developed countries. It talks about the problem of a human as a whole. Then here comes the branches. Mainly the major branches of five. Metaphysics, it means beyond physical and ultimate reality. It is subdivided into ontology, cosmology, and cosmogony. Because ontology is the study of being, deals with the nature of existence. Cosmology is the nature of the universe, and the cosmogony is the origin of the universe. Metaphysics has two schools of thoughts. One is the idealist, and the other one is the materialist. Idealists were Hegel, and the counterpart or the counter philosophy or school of thought was materialist of Karl Marx. Then here comes the epistemology. Episteme means knowledge and logos means theory. So epistemology means the theory of knowledge, means critical evaluation of all knowledge. It has two school of thoughts which we have in our course as well. One is the rationalism and the other one is the empiricism. Rationalism and in this form, in this category, we come across Plato, who used to reason through mind. Okay, and in the empiricism we have Aristotle. These are the two major philosophers. The rest we do have the rest, which are like Descartes. He is the rationalist too. Empiricism, in which empiricism we got John Locke and etc. Okay, we're gonna study them later on. Then there are some other school of thoughts which are definitely included into the epistemology. These are skepticism, universal skepticism, and the mitigated skepticism. Hume is one of the skeptic. Again, his theory is also known as skepticism. So, universal skepticism is knowledge is impossible, and mitigated skepticism is knowledge is partially possible. Then we have ethics as well in our syllabus. It is also known as the moral philosophy. What is ethics? It is the normative science of human conduct. It has two branches, meta-ethics and normative ethics. Meta-ethics deals with the analysis and the clarification of ethical terms such as good, bad, wise, just, and so on. Ethics is actually a question of how do we know about good or bad actions? What is the criteria of knowing it? Metaethics solves this problem which in naturalism, anti-naturalism, prescriptivism, etc. Normative relating to rules and norms, okay? Principles, standards of human behavior. Now there come some challenges like what is the moral standard? The solution are in its 8 platforms, whether individually or collectively have been proposed. There are some social customs, laws, revelation, conscience, pleasure, right, reason, intuition. What is intuition? It is the ability to know something by using your own feelings rather than considering the facts. Then we have utilitarianism. It is the belief that right course of action is the one that will produce the greatest happiness of the greatest number of people. We have also read this utilitarianism in political science of Mill, okay, Jeremy Bentham. He also said greatest pleasure for greatest number of people. Then hedonism. This is the pleasure is the most important thing in life. Pleasure is a moral standard. Means the action which fetches pleasure are good, and the action which takes pain and which gets us pain are morally bad. Epicurus is a proponent of the school of thought, hedonism, egoism. the fact of thinking that you're better or more important than anyone else. It is a self-ego, which we call people. The person is very egoistic. That means his ego is bigger than the moral standards because he is selfish. He thinks self-interest is the foundation of morality. Then we come intuitionism, to know the feeling by feeling, by inner feeling rather than reasoning or facts. Okay, what you call it a gut feeling. This is intuitionism. We are done with the first part of philosophy, that is the nature, definition, and scope of philosophy. I hope you got my point. If you have any question, you can ask me whenever you want. And it was just a brief intro of and just bullet points of telling you that this is how we're gonna start the philosophy. Okay, this is the first part. um, Definitely we have one question from this, and in this question this is kind of a cramming question because you need to memorize all the definitions and branches and all these things, and you need to quote each and every philosopher. So I guess if I won't recommend this thing to you because I don't feel like attempting this question will give you some good marks, because you CSS is not about just writing down. No, it's not about writing the long questions of 6 to 8 pages. It's about understanding the question and then give your answer. Produce the answer, not the cramming material, but your own rational question answers. Okay, so I would not recommend to solve this question, but if you do not know any other question, if you need to solve the fourth question as well, then go for it. So then prepare for it. Okay, there are two websites for philosophy. One is the Plato, and the other one is the Plato Stanford, and the other one is the Internet Encyclopedia. So do consult those two websites because it gives you a whole idea of Western philosophers. So good luck.